I've always been deeply opposed to crypto, Bitcoin, etc. You pointed out the only true use case for it is criminals, drug traffickers, anti-money laundering, tax avoidance, and that is a use case because it is somewhat anonymous, not fully, and because you can move money instantaneously, and because it doesn't go through, as you mentioned, all these systems built up over many years, know your customers, sanctions, OFAC, they can get bypass all of that. If I was the government, I'd close it down.
September 12th, Jamie Dimon says Bitcoin is a fraud. He says he'll fire any one of his traders buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin drops 24%. When Jamie Dimon speaks, people listen. So that weekend, we found out that the largest buyer of a Bitcoin fund that's in Europe that buys physical Bitcoin, right? The largest buyer was Morgan Stanley and Jpmorgan. And that's not illegal.
He says it's a fraud.
It says he'll fire anyone that buys it. Yes.
And at the same time, his company is buying it.
His company is buying it.
It's just, so unethical.
Let's go straight to the Jamie Dimon of it all. You watched that. You heard him say that, and you thought what to yourself?
He keeps doubling down, and he keeps being wrong. What surprises me is so many of Jamie's clients, right? Some of the wealthiest guys in America, Abby Johnson at Fidelity, Jeff Yass, Stan Druckenmiller, Ray Dalio, big investors all believe that Bitcoin is a store of value. We see it in our client base. Our trading desk has been busy with hedge funds buying. We see it in institutions buying. And so I don't know where Jamie gets off thinking that he's smarter than all those guys. It's the epitome.
He's also spoken out against carried interest, and most of his clients happen to be beneficiaries of that and enjoy that and think it's a great idea as well. So,
carried interest is kind of tax policy, and I actually kind of agree with Jamie on carried interest. So it's very different on saying what has value, right? I think it's supreme arrogance to think he knows what has value, but all the rest of the people don't. And quite frankly, he's just been proven wrong. Bitcoin has way outperformed Jpmorgan stock over 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, you name the period. People around the world believe in this. They believe in the community, the ecosystem. They see governments spending too much money, not just here in the U.S., but everywhere, and think you're going to debase fiat currency. And so, the story has kind of already been argued and won. When Larry Fick went on your show and said, I think you're going to see Bitcoin in all portfolios, I think, it was kind of game over.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And guys, we know Jamie Dimon calling out crypto. They need to shut it down. We know he's playing nothing but the Hegelian dialectic. And just realize how many older people actually listen to him, and they're still listening to him and broke. And that's the reason why they keep newscasters on TV for so long, the same ones, because people develop trust. But unfortunately, they're trusting an illusion. And we have Mike Novogratz talking about Jamie Dimon, and we know he's a Goldman Sachs guy, so we know he's playing nothing but the Hegelian dialectic. But he says that Jamie Dimon doubles down and keeps being wrong, but he doesn't bring up the fact Jamie Dimon has his own blockchain and stablecoin. Why wouldn't you bring that up? Why wouldn't you say that Jamie Dimon has bought Bitcoin? Morgan Stanley has bought Bitcoin. The reason why you don't, because they're on the same team. But this doesn't work. The Hegelian dialectic doesn't work if you're both delivering the same message. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And again, speaking of the Hegelian dialectic, we had Elizabeth Warren, again, speaking of the boogeyman. Guys, we've had the same boogeymans. I'm an old man. It's been the same ones. Same ones in the mainstream media, the same ones in the movies. It doesn't change. Why? Because they're trying to program you on the next event they want to pull off. And she states that North Korea has funded almost 50% of their nuclear weapons program by crypto. Guys, where's the proof? Anytime they say statements that are ridiculous, someone asks for the proof. You can't get it. And Elizabeth Warren keeps talking about regulation. Is she worried about regulating crypto? No, she's not. What they want to do is be able to take away your privacy and also control the space. Guys, we know stablecoins and CBDCs are illegal in Europe and the United States, but they have to write it in order for it to become legal. And unfortunately, the sheep are asleep, worried about things that don't matter, and that's how they're able to always push through their agendas. And last night we had the presidential candidates talking about Bitcoin and crypto, and we had DeSantis at the end talk about CBDCs, being able to tell you what, when, and how to buy, and you have 3 to 6 months to spend them or poof, it's gone. And believe me, it didn't resonate to the people because they don't understand how powerful this technology is. And this is the most powerful technology that we've ever seen. Why? Because it has the ability to get rid of humanity with a push of a button. I know it sounds like a movie, but remember, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
I'm so curious what was going through your mind when you heard Jamie Dimon's response.
Look, when Jamie Dimon and I are in exactly the same place, it's because we have a serious problem in this country. And that is a part of the financial system is being used by terrorists, by drug traffickers, by rogue nations in order to launder money, move money through the system, and finance their illegal activities. But keep in mind on this one, it wasn't just Jamie Dimon. We had a long, long table with the CEOs of all of the largest banks in this country. And when I asked the question, should the rules that apply to their banks, and by the way, also apply to stockbrokers and gold traders and credit card companies and credit unions and all the other financial transactors, should those same rules to deal with drug trafficking and terrorism financing and rogue nation financing, should the same rules be put in place? Every single one of them said, absolutely. So what this tells me is it's time for Congress to act.
Let me ask you, beyond Congress acting, there's a big question mark over whether the SEC is going to act on whether, for example, a Bitcoin ETF will ultimately get approved, which would expand access for Americans all over the country, potentially, to invest in Bitcoin. You've probably watched the price of Bitcoin has risen quite materially, even in the past several months, in large part on the back of that expectation. You know Gary Gensler very well. Do you have any expectation that something like that would take place, and would you support it?
So I don't want to speculate on what the SEC is doing here. I really want to draw an important distinction, and that is the SEC principally is talking about regulation, the kind of monitoring the platforms, the markets, make sure that there's adequate consumer protection, an issue that is built into the DNA of the SEC. It's an important thing to do. It's absolutely something they should do. What I'm talking about is the law enforcement aspect of this. It's not over at the regulatory agencies. What I'm talking about is the part of the system that makes sure that banks are not being used for terrorist financing, for example. You know, we have something called the Bank Secrecy Act, which is how banks are required to monitor certain kinds of transactions that go through the system. It was written in the 1970s following 9/11. The law enforcement folks went back, looked at what had happened, figured out how the financing had made it through the system, and that's the last time that Congress updated the Bank Secrecy Act. What we need to do is we need to update it again because there's a new threat out there. It's crypto, and it is being used for terrorist financing. It is being used for drug trafficking. North Korea is using it to pay for about half of its nuclear weapons program. We can't allow that to continue.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you praised cryptocurrency like Bitcoin as an opt-out from our, quote, broken financial architecture, and you oppose efforts to regulate it. The head of the largest international crypto exchange just pleaded guilty to allowing his platform to launder money for terrorists, including Hamas. You say your cryptocurrency plan will, quote, ensure economic freedom for Americans, end quote. Won't it also ensure economic freedom for fraudsters, criminals, and terrorists?
Look, fraudsters, criminals, and terrorists have been defrauding people for a long time. Our regulations need to catch up with the current moment. The fact that SBF was able to do what he did at FTX shows that whatever they have as the current framework isn't working. And I think it is nothing short of embarrassing that Gary Gensler, the current leader of the SEC, in front of Congress, could not even say whether Ethereum counted as a regulated security or not. And so I think that this is just another example of the administrative state gone too far.
The dangers that we're going to face, Biden wants, is a central bank digital currency. They want to get rid of cash, crypto. They want to force you to do that. They'll take away your privacy. They will absolutely regulate your purchases. On day one as president, we take the idea of central bank digital currency and we throw it in the trash can. It'll be dead on arrival.
Going to a different economy. And we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told his members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will. During that auction that we saw a little bit before, the attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy. And you know, when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books, is time to re-educate. Also, if new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance, do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID 33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.